Next, from Springfield, Governor Rauner takes questions from the press about state budget negotiations and paying state workers. This runs about 10 minutes.
To advocate on behalf of our small towns and our rural communities in Illinois. Our small towns are the bedrock of Illinois. It's the source of much of our prosperity and good quality of life. We want to do everything we can to grow more economic opportunity and education quality here in small towns and rural communities here in central Illinois and southern Illinois, and that's what we're here to meet today. Yesterday we got some bad news, some very disappointing news. A state judge ruled that Comptroller Mendoza can decide where she wants to pay state employees from, which funds that she wants to use. We don't agree with that ruling. However, we're going to honor it given that. We believe that Comptroller Mendoza's goal is to shift the source of funds for state employee pay from general revenue, from GRF, which is the way she's been paying those state employees since she came into office. But she decided to change, and she wants to now take money out of some special purpose revolving funds that has money in them that gets used for rent and facility costs to keep essential government services running. We believe her goal is to deplete those funds and then create a crisis and create a government shutdown to force either stopgap deficit spending and then ultimately a tax hike without any changes to our system. We believe that's the goal. That's wrong. We will continue to advocate against it. And every day we will say, please, Comptroller Mendoza, don't deplete those funds. They are needed to prevent a crisis. That is not the right thing to do. Continue to pay our state employees out of general revenue as has been done since you came into office. Consistent with that tactic by Comptroller Mendoza, Attorney General Lisa Madigan has continued to aggressively try to stop state employee pay to create a crisis and shut down the government. She decided, even though she lost first round in state court to stop state employee pay, she's going to end run the appellate court, and she's going straight to the Supreme Court to try to get the Supreme Court to say state employees should not get paid and the government should be shut down. This is wrong. This is an attempt to create a crisis and force a tax hike without any changes to our system. And this is clearly part of a coordinated activity, coordinated pattern between the Attorney General, our Comptroller, and frankly our Speaker, who coordinates it all, to create a crisis and shut down the government. Right now, we can prevent the crisis of state employees not getting paid if we would pass Representative Avery Bourne's bill. Avery Bourne has introduced a bill that will create a continuing permanent appropriation for state employees. So whether there's a budget or not, or whether there's a end of a budget year or not, there's always state employees will get their pay. They work every day. They deserve to get paid on a regular basis for their work. State legislators passed continuing appropriations for themselves. So state legislators, even though they don't work full time, they get paid no matter what, even without a budget. We should do that for sure for state employees. They do work every day, and they deserve to get paid. So we're going to fight hard. We are pushing to have the General Assembly pass Representative Avery Bourne's bill for a continuing permanent appropriation for state employee pay. That's the right thing to do.
In the realm of people owed money by state government, why are you treating state workers as superior to the workers at human service contractors who are also soon to get paid?
Inside government, the folks are working every day. Legislators pass continuing appropriation for themselves, which frankly I think was wrong. They don't work full time. Our state employees work every day. It's within our.
So do human service contractors.
So
Why
there's
are they
various.
different?
There's difference between being inside government and being outside government. Inside government, those folks are working every day, and they should be paid. They should have a continuing appropriation.
But the human service workers are working every day too.
It's different, inside government versus outside. There's a lot of folks work outside government.
And the government,
It's
at some point,
just a second.
Governor, there seems to be this battle between you and Comptroller Mendoza, where normally these are relatively minor issues that would get worked out between your offices, but aren't. Is this all about politics in 2018?
No, it's about shutting down the government and forcing a tax hike without reform. That's what's going on. That's why Speaker Madigan worked so hard to make sure that Comptroller Munger was defeated. and he got Comptroller Mendoza in. Comptroller Mendoza takes her orders from Speaker Madigan, and they are working together to create a crisis and shut down the government. We've been able to head off Comptroller Mendoza on a number of things she's tried to change or funding that she's tried to cut off. We've called her out on it and exposed it, and pressure through the press and others have had her back down on a few things she's tried. This one is tough. She's doing it in the court, and we lost in court. Our state judges are, sometimes part of the problem. And this is part of a pattern to create a crisis and force a tax hike and not have to make any changes to our system, which is fundamentally broken.
In what way is the in what way is the judiciary a problem? I feel like sometimes you make these comments, but we haven't really gotten a full understanding of why that is. Is it just because, on one hand they agree with you, then the next they disagree with you, and that makes them bad, or is there something deeper?
Well, today I'm not going to talk more about our state judicial system. I think we'll save that for another day.
Wow.
Right now, we've got to focus on making sure our state employees get paid, and we don't allow a crisis to occur that would shut down the government and force a big tax hike without any reforms.
How can you say that a judge is part of the problem, or sometimes it's that, and then not expand on it?
Well, there's a lot of things that I comment on one day to the next, and we'll talk about that in the future.
Governor, is there any
Yes,
the effort of the grand bargain, and you've spoken on one hand in favor of it, but many of the Democratic senators are saying that it was your interference or your actions. I'll retract interference, but your calls to Republican senators to have them back out of that deal. Did you make the calls? What were you asking them? Why, if so, and you asked them not to vote in favor, what was your reasoning?
No, there's a lot of misinformation out there and a lot of spin. I would like to see a grand bargain more than anybody. We've worked so hard to change our system, and the Senate has been working on the types of changes that could really move the needle to get more jobs in Illinois and protect our taxpayers. They're working on term limits. They're working on a property tax freeze. They're working on workers' comp reform. They're working on education funding reform. They're working on pension reform. These are exactly the right things to do. They're the right things to change. And I'm very supportive of the Senate continuing to work and to try to come to a grand bargain with a balanced budget. I'm an anti-tax guy, but I've said I'll support new revenue. They should make some cuts, some spending cuts, which so far I've been told that they're not willing to do.
Did you oppose the actual bills that were on the floor last week?
I've never commented on specific bills. I've said come to a grand bargain that you all feel good about that will actually move the needle. And don't give up. Don't give up. This has been going on for months.
Did you call the Republican senators and encourage them? A number of the Democrats are saying we had an agreed to bill, and it was your interaction that caused the Republican senators to vote against it.
There's a lot of spin and a lot of misinformation out there. So Democrats, including President Cullerton, asked me to weigh in with my views on the grand bargain. I think he publicly said that in the press. And I took that opportunity in my budget address to make some comments about the deal. And I didn't say this particular issue has to be in or this has to be out. I just said make sure that the whole package moves the needle for job creation and moves the needle to protect our taxpayers. For example, I said, why don't we have the property tax freeze be permanent rather than temporary? The House passed a permanent property tax freeze. Don't do a 2-year like the Senate's Democrats were advocating. Make it permanent. And for those who say, well, permanent is too tough, it's too difficult for our local governments, I would pretty strongly disagree with that. It is fair to give the people of Illinois the voice to decide whether their property taxes go up or not. And if the people in a particular community are fine with their property taxes going up, they'll authorize it. That's all that freeze means, and it's a reasonable thing to do.
Governor, is there any validity to the argument that Lisa Madigan has made in court that she is trying to put pressure on you and lawmakers to reach an agreement? In 2 years?
Why did she do this now? This is an important point. Why did the Attorney General choose to do this now when the Senate announced that they were getting close to a grand bargain? Why now? If she really believed that was the right thing to do, she could have done this 18 months ago.
But some people
She's doing this.
that would help
She said she
it.
wanted to give you guys a chance to negotiate.
She's doing this because she and the organizations, it's a coordinated effort to make sure to create a crisis, shut down the government, and force a tax hike. That's what they're trying to do.
How do you know that?
Thanks, everybody.